Hi folks, happy Wednesday. Good to see you all. I'm having a good Wednesday. How about you? Tell me how your day is. Tell me what's going on. I am here for Developer Drop-In, and as we do every Wednesday in this show, I'll be taking any or all of your questions to just see what you want to know about Vonage, see what API questions you have, tell me what you're hacking on, Vonage or otherwise. I think that's a good summary also of how your Wednesday is going, so I'd love to hear about it. And especially because today I'm going to be sharing stuff that I am hacking on. So unless you interrupt me with questions, which I will be overjoyed if you do, unless you do, then we will be focusing mostly on some of the stuff that we've looked at in the past. The Go library, which I covered last time I was here, and then also looking at the OpenAPI stuff, because our SDKs are created from the OpenAPI stuff, imported into the Go library, and they form they're internal, so they kind of form part of the library. Then that's what the library is made of. So that's what I want to show you today. I'd love to hear how your day is going, kind of what's happening, if you have anything to show us, or anything to tell me about the way that the way that your Wednesday is going. Mine is going pretty well. It is so sunny I have had to close the curtains. So that's pretty notable actually, because I'm normally very gung-ho about that. Also, it will go dark sometime during the stream, so I have the lights on and the curtains closed, as depressing as that is with the rare sunshine. So cool. So let me show you around. I want to talk a little bit today about how things are and the things and show you some of the stuff that I'm working on, which I think will be really, really important. So let's see. I have got some notes that I want to look at. And I'm interested in your context as well, to know kind of which parts of this you find really interesting, and which parts are kind of like you don't need to know how the car works to be able to drive it. I think that's quite an important point. Some people really need to know the details, some people don't. Cool. Big hello to Laura. Happy Wednesday. Nice to see you. I'm just complaining about having the curtains closed because it's sunny. So, it's just so rare to see the sun at this time of day, that's all. This time of year, it's all good. All right, so let's get sharing. Here's the Vonage SDK. Now, last time I was here, Lauren's here, so everyone can enjoy the Lorna, Laura, Lauren problem. We're not a problem, are we? We're a feature, not a bug. Awesome, I feel better already. So I have this Go SDK, which you've seen on stream before if you're here really regularly. I kept on talking about it, and eventually I came and showed you on stream. But there's a few things that I want to work on with it, and I think this is quite an interesting thing. It's not something that we do often, but seeing how this stuff is made and how we put these things together, I think has some value. However, as I see people kind of buzzing in, this is Developer Drop-In. You get extra points if you can derail me with an interesting Vonage APIs question. That is a challenge to everybody. And how am I not signed in? It signs out every 24 hours, so depending what time you signed in yesterday, sometimes it signs you out. Okay, cool. We're in. So So today on my sort of background to-do list, I thought I'd show you some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes in the Go SDK. So for example, we've got this, you need to add support for the account API and secret management API. The SDK didn't have it on the first release, but I think it would be a really nice thing to add. And I'm not going to say it's simple because that will immediately jinx me. But I want to say it's a reasonably small surface area, and there are also endpoints in these APIs that we don't necessarily need to include all of them into the SDK. So I'm not sure how far I can get. It depends how good your other questions are, of course. But let's give it a go. So this is the API reference. So here it's the API documentation. You can see we've got different sections. We can go down and look at the balance. You can get your account balance. Top up is the one that I probably won't add because I'm not sure it belongs here in the SDK, although it's great that we do have a public endpoint for it. But get account balance. This is the URL that you need to call. Here are the parameters that you should send with your request. And then this is the response that you can expect back. So everything's described here. This reference documentation, if I go back to the top, you can see we've got two buttons. One is download the OAS 3 definition. So this is the OpenAPI description document. And you can download this. I would be downloading it to feed it into the OpenAPI generator tool that you're going to see in a minute. But I actually need to use a local copy of the file for reasons that I will make extremely clear before I do it. So I'm not hiding anything from how the sausage is made. The link I'm going to use today is this, and it's improved this specification. So this links you through to where we keep these API references publicly on GitHub. So this is account.yaml. You're looking at version 1.0.2. So as you can see, it's just a whole load of YAML. If you haven't seen OpenAPI before, let me try and show you some of the signposts. We've got metadata in info, so this is really handy. And you can see we've included links to the documentation in ours. Then under the paths section, you've got these different URLs, and that shows you the verbs that you can access. So here's the get account balance that I was talking about. And we can send these parameters and get this back. So this is the machine readable source of truth for all our APIs. We use this as the basis for generating the reference documentation. And I'm also going to use it as the source of truth for adding this functionality to the Go SDK. So I'm going to use a tool called OpenAPI Generator. Let's see, OpenAPI Gen, here it is. I'm going to use a tool called OpenAPI Generator. Now this can generate, today I'm going to show you that I'm going to generate a client, so something that consumes the API, and I am going to use that as part of my library. You can also generate documentation. You can actually generate the server side. You can do a bunch of stuff with the OpenAPI generator. So chat, oh, Noreen's here. Hi, Noreen. Thanks for dropping in. From the chat, I would like to know, have you worked with OpenAPI before and how much sense is this making? Because if you have questions, I'm here for your questions. Like I'm kind of working on something, but I also want to answer all of your questions and bonus points if you can derail me from what I'm trying to do. Cool. So we're here with the OpenAPI generator. I'm just waiting for the chat to type, but that's fine. It's probably quite laggy. If you read the README on this project, then you will see that there's a few different options of how to run it. So a really good overview of all the things that you can do. And then we have got installation, getting started, There's all these different ways to do it. You can get just a jar file and run it locally. There are things and stuff. I am using the Docker version of this, and that's worked really well for me. Because I work with so many different setups and I do this infrequently. the chances of me having broken my dependencies since the last time I ran the tool is greater than 0, particularly because it's Java based and that's not my day-to-day tool chain, so I don't always have a really good handle on what state my Java tool chain is in, which is not awesome, but that's what Docker is for, right? So Docker gives me the container that has everything in it that this tool needs, and because it can mount the local storage, then it just writes the API. It writes the generated code to the local storage, and we can check it out. Awesome. So, is anyone ready to give it a go? I'm going to take this API specification file and feed it into this tool and make it, ta-da, generated code. Full disclosure, it's actually not this file, it's this file, the pull request that I opened an hour ago when I realized that it doesn't generate that cleanly to start with. Oh no, and I've got requested changes. Brilliant. Mark is, as always, on the ball. So maybe we'll fix the pull request as well while we're at it. So, let's, that's funny. But I said I wanted to lift the lid. You know, all the work that we do at Vonage is in the open. That's the point. We're here showing you how we do what we do. And this is how we do what we do. I propose a change and we discuss that change. We discuss it that we could do better, which in this case it seems like we can because we can fix another thing while we're working on it. And if it's all good, then we merge. There's also automated checks that run here. So yeah, I'm going to be using version 1.0.3 of the spec, which just has some minor changes that make the CodeGen actually run. So, here is my super secret generator command. So it uses the Docker command. We have, so it cleans up, it does a Docker run, so it just runs a command that's inside the Docker container. We've got, it's going to clean itself up after it's finished, so we don't keep the container around. I'm not going to need it again. It's going to write its output to the local file. I can obviously stop that if I do need to dig in and see what happened. We're going to mount a volume, which is the local directory to /local, and then we're going to run this command, the OpenAPI tool, OpenAPI generator CLI command. We're going to do generate. I'm going to give the input as account.yaml, which is in this directory. And I'm going to ask it to use the package name account. So the different customization options like package name are different between different, they're different between different libraries. So if you're generating to a different destination tech stack, you'll have different switches here. Go has package names. So I am asking it to name everything as account because I've generated from multiple different API docs into this. We've got I'm using the generator called Go, and I am also setting the output file to be this path to the account. So we'll be able to drill in and see that. Remember that the local directory is the current directory that I'm in. A little bit distracted by Twitch going weird, but I think only on one device. So you can just let me know, I guess. Yeah, raise your hand if you can't hear me. Wait, how does that work? All right. Looks fine. Just the device that I was trying to watch the stream on then. That is... Do you know what? Probably not a problem. All right, so that's the generator command. So I am just going to put that into my... So I had a Mac for a while, unavoidably, in a previous employment. And the only thing that I loved about Mac that I brought back when I came back to my Linux machine is the pb copy command. How did I ever live without it? So I don't know if that's ever happened to you, like you changed from one platform to another and you like made fake versions of the things that you missed. But yeah, guilty. All right, so let's paste that command and it's gonna run. It's quite chatty, which I think is a good thing. I hope my computer can run this. Yes, okay. At the same time as streaming. That seems okay. Cool. So we've got some kind of output, and you can see it wrote a load of files, and it's chatty, but it's mostly info. I have some warnings, which hopefully will be fine. But it's mostly info. It's just telling me what's going on. So let's have a look what's going on in out Golang, and this is account. So this is everything that I got. One thing I really enjoy about the OpenAPI generator output is that you get both this README file, which gives you a usage instruction, and you get this docs folder, which is generated documentation for everything that it has created. I usually don't copy them over. I'm just going to grab the .go files here and use that as the basis of the package in the library. But there is a bunch of things here that if you are generating this just to use it by itself, then that's really valuable as well. Cool. Hello, by the way, Luke. I didn't say hello. Hello. Cool. So let's have a look at what we've got. We've got a bunch of, starting at the top of that directory listing. In fact, let's clear the screen and just have a look. We've got these API underscore something fields, and these are API clients for the various different sections of the spec. So if you remember, I'm going to go back to the browser. If you remember when we looked at the reference documentation, you can see you could jump to any one of these three sections, and the quick links are in the lozenges at the top. We've got the balance section, so dealing with your account balance, we're going to implement get balance. Dealing with the configuration, so we can set things like an account-wide configuration for where incoming SMS messages should go. And I'll show you something funny about that when we look at mine. And then also secret management. So you wouldn't necessarily, I mean, this is only about 7 endpoints in total, I think. But as your APIs get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, it gets really hard to find things. So being able to tag them in this way and separate them like this just makes them a bit more navigable, especially if you're working with an API that has everything all in one file. A big hello to Marco Dev. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining us. Nice to see you. It's always good to see the friendly faces on the stream. It's a bit less like talking to thin air. If you're in chat, I can see that you're there. It's kind of nice. Okay. What's next? That's right. So we have the three different API clients, and that is for the three different sections. So that's nice. It just kind of keeps that manageable for us as well in code. We've got the client and the configuration. So there's the client that's going to handle all of the requests and responses, and the configuration here. You can set things like the user agent and the base URL, some really good stuff. Then we've got basically all of these model underscore something things come from the spec. So for example, model account balance is a representation of back in the balance section. Here is get account balance, and the response looks like this. So because Go is a strongly typed language, then I'm not sure this highlight actually looks great. I'll stop. Because it Go is a strongly typed language, it's a hassle. I'm trying to be polite. It's awkward and annoying is the nicest way I can think of saying it, to handle the JSON and bring it back in. So we get these defined models that have Go appropriate structure names and that know how to deserialize from JSON. So this one, which is going to be the account balance, if we look then what's in that model, oh, hold on. I didn't change into the directory, I just listed it. Got it. Account model, it's called model account balance. It's an account balance with a field called value, where the JSON is value with a lowercase v, and the other field in the struct is auto-related, right? So you can write all this by hand if you want to, but this is one of the big valuable things that I find when you work with the generated code for a strongly typed language like Go. Then all of this is done for you. It's more accurate than if I did it by myself. And sometimes things get a bit funky. This thing loves float 32, which is interesting because Go doesn't. So yeah, that's awkward, but it gives us a really nice quick start into building this stuff. Hey Benjamin, good morning, how's it going? Benjamin's in a different time zone to normal, so I'm fascinated to hear how this goes as breakfast time rather than, I don't know, afternoon tea time. As is my tradition, I have brought my tea. I just need to remember to drink it. If this gets too interesting, it goes cold. So I will try and remember to drink my tea. If you have tea, you need to remember to drink yours as well. Cool, right. Yeah, if I'm like speaking or doing a long training session and there's a cup of tea, I tend to hold it. Doesn't work that well with streaming because there's too many other things going on. And I will endeavour not to tip tea into my keyboard, at least while I'm live on stream. Awesome. Okay, Benjamin says, anytime with Lorna is go time. Yeah, I have written a lot of Go lately. And it's something that I know we've had questions about in the past on the stream. I did one little tangent one day that kind of showed how the moving parts work. This is what I'm working on next at work. So I'm to just like lift the lid and give you a little peek into what this is and how it works, because I think it's quite interesting. So it's generated this for me. So that's a whole bunch of JSON decode type logic that I don't need to handle. And you can see there's the rest of it. Fantastic. Awesome. So we're doing really well. We've got the slightly amended version of the spec that we've seen is open in a pull request actually, so I'm cheating using that as the basis, but hopefully we'll get that merged as well. We've generated some code and now it's about bringing that into the library and kind of seeing it in action. So what I usually do is just copy it over and then start writing the library functionality I want, and then like just create a little test script that uses the library. So I just write the code that I want to work and it doesn't work, and then I keep going until it works. And then I write a test for it. That's my non-scientific way of making all of this go together. So there's a few moving parts to take care of, and let's see what we can do. So the files are here: projects, OAS, out, Golang, account, super catchy. Everyone remember that path. And I don't seem to have the Go library open anywhere, so let's fix that. The Go path is one of the most annoying things about working with Go. It's very logical, but it's also quite, I don't know, I just find it a bit cumbersome. Make sure we're up to date. We are. So let's start a new branch. I'm going to check out, the branch doesn't exist, so -B, and we're going to add, it's just going to call it account API, because that's what I'm going to put in this branch, account API support. Let me show you around what I have here, which is, this is the structure of the whole Go library. We've got, at the top level, basically a file and a test file, of course, per API that has support. So application is the name of an API. Auth actually isn't, it's where all the authentication code is, because all the different APIs rely on it. We've got a docs folder with that is a GitHub Pages site. So it renders on GitHub. If you are following along at home, I will paste a link for you. Where did I have that open? Oh, I think we followed a link from somewhere, didn't we? Oh, I did have it open somewhere. Anyway, here we go. You can see over on the right hand side under the About section that it has, let's see if I can actually focus where the chat is. Which window is that? Oh, I think it's this one. There you are. Found you. So you can go here and see this page, and under the About, that's where the docs is. So I'm using the docs folder as the GitHub pages source. Now you can do that in a number of different ways. You can use a different branch name. We're just putting it in the docs. So we need to make sure that we update those as well as we go along. That was a diversion. I've got a little CLI example as well, which is here. And then, oh, it's right on the join. How annoying. There's this hold on while I try and work out how to scroll. See this internal folder? That's a Go feature. So you can put packages into this internal folder, and Go will warn you if you try and access that from outside. So it's a really nice way to work. So I can put my generated code here and make it really clear that nobody should be depending on the functionality here because it might change. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the code that the code generator created. I'm not going to change it at all, except sometimes I have to, but shh. I'm not going to change it at all, that's my story. And I'm going to copy it in to an account folder that we're going to create in the internal folder, and that's going to be like a package. And the idea is that you don't make any changes, and that means that you can just regenerate the code. If the API changes, maybe you add an endpoint or something, you can regenerate the code and safely overwrite it without losing any of your real work. So you can see I've got application, number insight, SMS, verify voice, and each of those has its own Go file and test at the top level as well. So that's kind of the basic structure of the library. Then we have a kind of user-facing functionality for each API, and then stuff in the internal folder that is the generated code. So let's put our generated code into the internal folder. Plan. Let's see if I can work this out. Right, so in the internal folder, I need to make a place for this to live. It's going to be called account, singular. And in account, I am going to copy everything that was in that path that you remembered for me earlier. Out, go. Like, funny how telling you to remember makes me remember. Do you do that? If I take back when we used to see other humans that didn't live with us, if I take my nieces or nephews to the shop, before we go out, I tell them what we need, and they can always tell me what I'm supposed to be buying when we get there. It's an amazing power. So you can, do you do that? Just me, maybe. All right, account, and I think I want everything star.go, and I want to copy it to here. Well, that looks plausible. I got my API files, client configuration, a load of models, and something called response.go. It seems pretty plausible to me, so that's a really good start. Next, let's see. I think I'll just commit this as is. I may need to make some changes. There are a few things in different APIs that are just not brilliantly well supported in all of the tooling. So I've run into problems with some of the other APIs with things like the one of keyword in OpenAPI or the all of keyword. One of is a real mystery. So we've kind of got that problem. And then we've also got, sometimes everything just doesn't quite match. So yeah, okay, I have made a few changes, but by committing first and then adding another commit with the changes, I'll be able to diff those. So if we do need to update or we do need to do any archaeology, we'll always have that. Git status, git add. I know that I never say git add with dot, but I think I am going to git add. Let's at least add star.go, which is what is in this directory called .go, not including any hidden files, hopefully things that I intended to commit. What did that add? Oh, that actually looks quite safe. Brilliant, no surprises. Woo, we're off the mark. Now, do you want question to the chat? Do you want me to push this as I go along? Are you interested in seeing it, or just happy to watch for now? If you want me to push it, I'll share the branch link with you and you can see it as it happens. You would just need to say. And of course, if you have any questions about this, about Account API, about anything else Vonage, this show, I'm here to be interrupted. So you should go ahead and do that. Just type anytime. Lorna, stop talking because you can't type a commit message at the same time. Oh yeah, okay. Account API ref. It's not a specification. Let's say definition. All right, so we should be able to kind of just make a start now. Let's see how this shapes up for us. I guess we just start. I would like to copy an existing one of these and kind of adapt it for account rather than starting afresh in a new page in case of things that I've thought of in the past and I haven't thought of now. So I'm going to use SMS as a starting point just because there's not too much to it. So it's a good place to start. All right, so we've got account.go now. Here's account.go. So let's start with, it's not going to be called SMS client. It's going to be called SMS client. It's going to be called account client everywhere. Brilliant. We probably need some config, we probably need an API key, we probably need an API secret, so we'll keep those the same, and my aim there is to make this as familiar to people who are already using this API as humanly possible. And it's not at all unusual for me to build functionality, go to write the docs, look at another module's docs and be like, oh no, we did it differently last time, and then come back and fix this. So that's quite important. We pass in some auth and we assign the creds, yes, fine. But this is not going to be SMS new configuration. See here where it's imported? This is going to be account. So this is also going to be account. So what we do here is we bring in a standard set of configuration and then we start overriding things. So I'm setting the user agent here, but I also return the client. So if anyone needs to access that config and set anything else in it, they can, it's accessible. A great example is you can override the base URL in this library, and that's intentional. Like I'm giving away the power. We don't use sandboxes, but we really recommend you use a bunch of mock servers. There's all sorts of reasons you want to change things. And there's a good chance you'll see me do something with this today as I test what I'm building. So it's a really useful diagnostic. All right, let's just have a quick look. What's going on with SMS ops? Right, we don't need that. This is all going to be different. So I'm going to take it out, but there's a really good chance that I'm then going to open this file again and copy some of it back in, but that's okay. So the first function, let's refer to the documentation for pick a window, any window. No, not that one. Yeah, this one. Okay, cool. Let's refer to the documentation. I'm going to go for account balance because it is not a harmful thing. We can check how much balance I have. I actually don't know how much credit is in my account. It's like 20 euros, something like that. So, cool. Let me know how this is going for you. Interesting. Did you know this is how the libraries were made? Interesting. I am interested to know how you feel about seeing this from the inside. That's quite, it's not something that I've really shown off before, but I think it's valuable. Okay, so we're not going to do send. We're going to do get balance, come on, get balance. Doesn't actually need a lot because it takes API key and secret, and it's going to return account balance and then account balance error response, and then an error, and that's to be consistent with everything else. So let's see. I reckon I can replace SMS here with account balance. Having a little headphone wire problem here because I am indeed a pro. But we need to declare these things. So before I get too deep into this, let's gonna need to declare account balance and account balance error response. But they're gonna look a lot like the models. I don't want to rely on the models that come with the internal generated code, because there's a risk in depending on that. So let's go for, first of all, let's write some get balance fetches the current balance, the authenticated account. In euros, it is in euros. Now then, I need to go browsing off around the file system to find some other stuff to pull in here. And I hope that you can follow this, but let me know if you can't and we can go again. Where are we going? I am gonna go here. We are gonna look at, in the internal thing, I'm looking for account, and I'm looking for just in the API balance. So this is the wrapper that calls this endpoint. So it's a balance API service, and get account balance is the function that we're going to be calling. We need to pass a context, a key, and a secret. That's fine. I've got all of those. And it returns us an account balance struct. Can you see that? It's one of the return values. So I'm going to go and look at what's in that. It's going to be called, the file is going to be called model account balance. So internal account model account balance. Right. So this is what it's going to return me. And whatever that was, I've pressed the wrong button. I think it was caps lock. Okay, that's fine. There's the thing we can fix. Right. So I want a struct that looks like this, but isn't this. I'm going to wrap it in my library so that if this changes, I have a place where I can overwrite it without breaking the user's interface. And that's really, really important when you come to rely on code like this when you're generating a library. This is a really important part of how the SDK stuff works. So, just trying to persuade another device to work because I'm kind of flying blind. It's fine. Someone will tell me if I'm screwing it up. Probably. Or just leave me to... Anyway, cool. So I think we are over in buffer 1. We are. I'm going to put that here. It's an account balance. It's going to have value and float. We don't need the JSON stuff because it'll already be what it is. So we are going to return an account balance. I also need to return the account balance error response. Let's just have another look at the docs. How does this work? You can have a 401. Oh, the 401 is error code and error code label. Let's see if we can spot what that is. We could come back to this probably. It's in account. The model is account balance, account settings request. API key not found. Authentication failed. Oh, maybe this one. Error authentication failed, account balance.go. This looks really plausible, doesn't it? Oh, it's just an interface. Why is it just an interface? Let's go and have a look at the spec. Hold on. Let's go and have a look at the spec. What is it about this that didn't generate correctly? Can I just work around it? Or is it more serious than that? So this is account get balance in this path. and we're doing the get operation. So this is where what we're dealing with is defined. And the more you work with the OpenAPI, the more you can find your way around. So I find that I'm very familiar with it now. Yeah, so it is this. Error authentication failed account balance. Where's that defined? Here. Properties, error code, error example. That's not how you declare fields. This is not how you declare fields in OpenAPI. Okay, I understand the problem. All right, well, I'm not sure we can fix that right now. Not auto reload enabled. Yeah, authentication failed. Account balance authentication failed. Why are those different? So this is how you can see that when you use your OpenAPI description for something that's more than API reference, you get into all sorts of like, I could fix this. I could fix that. It's really nice because the documentation gets better and every other tool hanging off this thing improves as well. So, yeah, I think there's a whole bunch of things that we can do here that we can... There's a whole bunch of things we can do here which can improve the API description. And I kind of like that. Like, I kind of like that this type of work where I'm building on the definition of the API gives me the opportunity also to improve the description of the API because I'm seeing it through a new lens. So while it has been a little bit tedious to go around and have to wrangle the spec as well, I feel like it's really spread like a sparkle of goodwill everywhere because we've been able to improve things. I am not sure how I'm going to fix this right now while I'm kind of working on it, but let's come back to that. I think this is fine. And we can just sort of work around it for now. So I'm going to pull this in and we'll decide if we need to regenerate the spec, we can. And we need to just, when we regenerate, if we've only changed this, only this file will change. And so that's quite valuable as well. But we need to change this first. I'm going to skip on changing this first. I am going to just define the account balance error here. I actually think this API has a reasonably generic error response, so it may be that later we realize we can refactor this into something that's reusable. Go is one of my favorite languages for refactoring. Just find it's really painless. I don't really know why. Like, I write 3 or 4 other programming languages. I know how to refactor, but I just find in Go it's the least offended by me moving stuff around. I don't want to call it that. I want to call it account balance error response. Vim should autocomplete for me. There it is. This is nonsense. It's going to be a string. We might have to do some wrangling to convert stuff. Let's just live with it like this for now. Like I say, refactoring is not too bad. I'm interested in being able to call this endpoint and how it works. So, you know, I think we're getting there with that. It feels slow, but it's not. It's not. We're cooking on gas here. Fabulous. So this is, we're going to create an account client. So that's the object that's an API client inside the internal space. So that's why I need to use the account namespace qualifier. And we can pass in the config that we set up before in the constructor. Cool. I do not need any of this. Do I? I don't think, no, I don't think I need to send that like that. So these are the optional fields that were specific to SMS. So I don't need that. I do need to create context to use because I have to pass it in. I need to pass the API key. I can remember this, but does this make any sense to you? Here's the function declaration on line 35. I'm going to call get account balance with context, API key, and API secret, and it's going to return me 3 values. I'm just going to dump the values, and then I'm going to figure out how to call the code. Right. Good. Fetch the balance. It's an account. Whoop, steady on. Account client. It's not the default API. It's called balance API service. Is it? I guess. Huh. Let's have a look at the client code. API client, it's a common service. Oh, it's called balance API. That makes more sense. I was really confused by that. Okay. It's called balance API, and it's called get account balance. This hesitation brought to you because Go has special meanings for whether the method name is uppercase or lowercase. I think it's uppercase. You did want to check again with me, didn't you? It is uppercase. I win. I might have a button for that. There we go. Okay, that was fun. I don't often press the extra buttons on this stream. I normally use them on my personal stream, but I just can't resist. All right, that's thrown me completely. I can't find my window. Perfect. Cool. We got this, right. So I'm sending context, API key, API secret, and any second now we're going to try and call this thing. So I'm getting quite excited now. Client API secret. Here we go. Perfect. We should do some stuff. Yeah, we should probably do some things and some stuff, to be brutally honest, but just gonna skip that for now, and instead we'll do a straight up inspection of all of those return values. Let's see. So this is my magic please print me all the things you know invocation, which if you use Go, this can be pretty handy to you, and I'm just going to use that once for each of the things I want to see. The other thing to look out for with Go is that it really likes to have all of the imports imported, which I won't have had FMT. That looks right. SMS shouldn't be here. Oh, that's because it's here. Account configuration. So I take it out and then try and get it to do the imports. It didn't put it back. Okay, great. So I've removed all the SMS references that came as a result of copying and pasting. But you can see I've got this, and some of this could probably go into a reusable helper. As long as we don't break the user experience or the developer experience on this, we can refactor this and improve it over time. The important thing is just to keep the user-facing side of things away from the generated code, and that's kind of what I'm aiming for here. Awesome. All right, so we need to actually call this thing. So let's, what's going on? Okay, this is where I was going to put my example code. Let's do a main.go, and I'm going to take a sneaky steal of the example code from another API because I want the experience and the interface to be really consistent. So I should be able to, if let's say I'm familiar with SMS, I should be able to grab this and change it so I'm calling the get balance, but essentially have things sort of looking the same. So I'm going to just steal this as my starting point. This is the code I want the user to call, and we're just going to edit the library until that's what happens. So, excuse me. I didn't drink my tea after all that little rant. I ranted about tea, but did not actually drink it. It's somewhere above body temperature. We're okay. So one thing I need to do here is add API key and API secret. Now, it's a long-standing tradition on these streams that I always share my secret at some point. I always try not to. So today I'm going to try not to, and we'll just see how it works out for me, right? So the way that I work around this is I have a file in my home directory called setenv, and I'm going to source that file. So it's going to run it in my current context without forking the process. And it should set some environment variables so that I can echo Nextmo API key. It does also set Vonage API key because apparently I haven't finished my rebranding process. Vonage API key, okay, so they're both set, cool. Because it's present in my environment, then in this same terminal, I can rely on those variables being there. So I can refer to them in my script that I am creating. Does that make sense? With the environment variables on your local thing, I think it's I think it's a really helpful way to work. So I like it. We'll give it a try. So I'm gonna do, it's os.getEnv maybe? Not spelled like that. That's the downside of live coding. I mean, you get all the fun of gently laughing at someone who doesn't necessarily spell things correctly, but it is a little bit slow to watch. Do feel free to talk amongst yourselves. So I think that should put the variables in. Now we are not doing SMS this time. We're doing account, but I kind of want that same feel. I want that same kind of structure, so you can kind of just follow things around. It's going to be account client dot get balance, but I don't need to send any parameters with my function call because it uses the API key and secret that are set. So I don't need to do anything else here. I guess we can panic if there's an error. We actually don't really need to do anything else because the library is going to output some stuff, but this will error because I've defined variables that I'm not using. So we'll just take them out for now, and let's dump the response whatever happens. So you've already seen the magic incantation, which I will simply reuse here. Right. I mean, none of this will work first time, right? And that's fine. Something wrong with me if this works first time. There we go, perfect. So, look, I didn't spot that we have code that won't run because it's one of error authentication failed, error auto reload not enabled. And okay, so there's a bunch of stuff which doesn't affect this endpoint, but that means the code won't compile. So, let's go digging. Everyone wants to go digging? Let's go digging. I've got a load of these files open already. Let's do this one thing at a time. So we'll start with the first error, which is in API balance on line 182. In fact, let's just focus on that one file to start with. It's in account in API balance and it's on line 182. And that is because this method, which is the top up that I don't even want to support in this library, uses a one-off, which this generator doesn't accept. So I'm just gonna be decisive and say it's going to return this type of error and see if that helps. We're down to 2 errors. Woo! Making progress. Now then, API secret management has 2 errors, but they're the same error. And again, it's because it can return either this structure or that structure. They're the same, but we have declared them as 2 different schemas, and that trips us up in some places. And this is one of those things where, we've used the API descriptions as the source of truth for our reference documentation for quite a long time, but we haven't used it a lot with other tools. Not all of them support the one-of, so there's, I think, time for us to revisit and see, is it useful to have the one-of, or could we somehow describe this in a way that more tools could understand? And that's the constant puzzle of working with OpenAPI, right? And I think it's a normal part of our journey. And again, it's something that I'm kind of, like, you're peeking behind the curtain to see what we're doing. And this has been a big thing that I've found and that I wish I had known before I started working on this stuff. Enough talking, let's do the thing. It's API secret management, and it's a one-off problem. That should be enough for me to find it. Internal account, API secret management. Off by 1 error because I'm using the split keyboard, which is slightly quieter, but not much. Okay, next we have, it's a one-off problem, so I should be able to find it. Here we go. Now, the way that I would normally work around this is to declare a new type of error. If you look at those 2, they're going to be the same. I'm not really sure why we've declared them separately. For now, I'm just going to pick one. We'll be able to see in the diff what I did, so I can easily loop back to this before I open the final version of the pull request. So let's just take that out and see where that gets us. All right, now this is brilliant because the next error is, first of all, new. And if you're debugging and you have errors and then you have different errors, that is progress. Crucially, our errors have moved from being in the internal package to being in the library, and then they'll probably go, then there'll probably be errors in my main.go, and then when we fix all of those, we'll be good. I'm not sure that's really true, but that's how I think about it. Like, we're kind of, okay, we're coming up the stack, we're coming closer to the code I actually wrote. Anyway, let's have a look. It's in account.go, and we haven't returned anything. Yeah, indeed, that is a bit of a, seems like an oversight. And I want to return, look at the function signature on line 41. I want to return account balance, error response, and error. So we can, for now, to satisfy that, we can just return the empty objects. And then as we inspect these values, we can start putting the values into the objects. And if there's no error, return a hydrated object, or make sure the object's okay before we return it, and that kind of thing. So we're going to start very lightly with just empty items. Account, balance, error, response, empty, and we can return nil for the empty error, and Go understands how to do that. All right, where does that leave us? The error is in the main. We are making progress. Best of all, it's a stupid mistake. I forgot to run Go imports, and so when I added that os.getEnv, it didn't get it. There's my imported value. Now I'll run the code. Oh, that's as slow as an API call. Brilliant. 404 not found. Where did you try to call to? That is exciting. So it comes back, it's a 404. We've got a value of 0 and an auto reload of false. Oh bless, that's my empty object, isn't it? This is the HTTP response, which is the middle value that's returned by the client. This is very useful, but I've totally forgotten how to get the body back. Okay, I can see body there. Let's see if we can figure out how to get that back. And then we've got a generic OpenAPI error in our error. So one thing I remember about this is I need to cast the error. This might get a bit muddy. Please let me know if you are bored and would like to talk about something else. I am going to be happily debugging here. Now, where else did I do this? I've definitely seen it somewhere else. Let's just go on a quick tour. Verify is my pet API, not because it's particularly special, it isn't, but within the developer relations team, we have specialists where we are like each a responsible adult to one product, and I am responsible to verify, and I love working with it. Here we go. Oh no, this just pulls the... There's a place where I had to cast it to generic OpenAPI error. There it is, look. Let's try application. So if we can cast this as an error, then we should be able to get some body data. And then I go on and unmarshal it, which we're not ready to do because I'm not sure what I'm unmarshalling it as. But let's see that. So let's see if there's anything in the body. As it's a 404, I kind of assume that we've hit the wrong endpoint for whatever reason. In fact, maybe that would be a better way to test it. Maybe, I mean, look, debugging suggestions are always welcome, right? But maybe a good thing to do here would be to start an ngrok tunnel purely to receive what this is pointing to it, which seems a bit counterintuitive because they're both local, but whatever. Has such a good web interface. And then we'll be able to inspect what it thought it was doing. So I'm going to override the base URL with this. Copy link. I have, of course, forgotten how to override the base URL. So let's check out the tips, tricks, and troubleshooting. Because that is my favorite thing. Okay, so I need to do blah client.config base path equals that thing. All right. You can't beat a little bit of troubleshooting. I think it's a good way to learn. And I'm quite excited to be like just sharing this with you, because I think for me to look over anyone else's shoulder is always really informative. So kind of just flipping that around is quite nice. So I'm not going to do that here. In fact, I'm going to do that in my calling code. Yeah, I am. I'm going to do it here. That makes sense. So we're going to do account client dot that stuff that I just got from the internet dot that URL that I copied before, probably as a string. Expected. Oh yeah, look, I've put 2 dots in. I've copied it and then typed it. All right, let's see how that looks. 502 bad gateway. That's expected because I have nothing running on the other end of my OpenAPI. So it requested a /account /get balance. Where's the docs? rest.nextmo.com /account /get balance. Oh, this API uses more than one server endpoint. Huh. I wonder where it actually requested to. Because this looks right. I wonder if we could ask it to tell us where it's going to request to. Maybe I can inspect the config object. Let's have a quick look. So instead of setting that, maybe I can just inspect it. Maybe not. Well, look, I think everything's worth a go. Well, let's have a look. Bingo. Have a look at that. Yeah, that smelled wrong, and in fact it is wrong. https api.nextmo.com is in the base path. So how am I going to override that? I'm going to set it at construct time so that if the user overrides it, I'll have set it, they can override it. I won't override it later. This might go badly wrong when we come to add more endpoints, but I think it's a reasonable shout for now. Let's try. So in account.go, when you set up the configuration, you get the account config, you set some stuff, including the user agent. I'm going to set the base path. I'm going to comment why this is here. Does not pick up correct server URL from OpenAPI description. Right, and then I'm going to do this isn't the most maintainable way to do it, is it? But let's get it working and then we can iterate. You can see where I've got get user agent. So I've got a common utils folder, and then we've got so we've got a common utils folder, and then we've got this get user agent. So it's the same everywhere. And we could do something similar with this, that we could kind of set up a, what are you doing? This is your base path. The reason I think this hasn't worked is where this API specification is, the server is this. OpenAPI supports setting the servers per path, but doesn't look like the code generator does, so I may need to open a bug on that. I'm going to work around it for now because I just really want to show you this working today if we can get that far. I think it's quite interesting. Now then, it might be that simple. I can't remember where I'm up to. Let's see what error message we get next. Oh, I've still got my... Oh gosh, so we got a 200 OK this time. Amazing. Okay, I'm a little bit... Where did I... So, look. I think it worked. I said I had about 20 euros. That looks like about 20 euros. That's really cool. I love get balance as a demo endpoint because it's harmless. Like, you can run it and make sure it only works if your creds are correct and your library is set up correctly, and it doesn't cost you anything to run. Hello to Darling Ducking, nice to meet you. You can try the what am I doing command for a full description. I am generating a new portion of our Go SDK from OpenAPI. So we started from the OpenAPI spec, we generated some code, now I'm wrapping some code, and then I'm calling it. But this is developer drop-in, so you can ask any questions you want about any of the Vonage API's stuff. And that is you're really welcome to do that. So let me know if you want me to recap on anything. That would be fine. Awesome. So I have a real thing and I can return it. Brilliant. And then what we'll do is we'll send it with, I'm not sure I've got the error handling. Okay, well, so then we'll write a little bit of docs and probably a test for this and call it pretty good, but Lorna needs to go and have another look at the error handling, perhaps not live on stream. Fabulous. Okay. Account balance looks like that. Great, let's try and return that and tidy up the script so it's not as chatty and it just shows us just the information we're interested in. So I don't want this anymore. I do want that, and I also want, instead of doing this, I think I'll do account balance, and then I'll do response dot, is it value? And then I'm gonna do euros. Oh, don't worry, darling ducking. I interrupt my own flow on a really regular basis. I see no reason why you shouldn't join in. Let's just, I will probably need to inspect this again. So let's just check that out. Okay, and I think we could remove some of the debugging from the main function call as well, so it's pretty, okay. So assuming that everything's fine, in fact, let's just pop down here. If the error is nil, I guess. Yeah, if it's not nil, then return error things. I'll basically return this. And if it is, I want to cast. I think this is fine. And if we haven't returned there, then I'm going to return this, which is account balance, but I'm casting the result. It's a compatible object, but I want to use my one, not the internal one, because if we change anything later, we don't want to change this. This gives us the opportunity to interject and to wrap things. And then we'll still return an empty account balance error response because I haven't figured that bit out yet. And we know we don't have an error. We know that the error was nil because we didn't return that line, so we'll set it as nil this time. I should definitely return the error here, not the nil. And we'll say a big thank you to Darling Ducking for the follow. Oh, I see the bot is thanking you as well, so you can consider me and the bot as a duet. It's not called error, it's called error. Error. Nobody clip that, please. Right. Let's see if that works. No. Type. Account balance error response is not an expression. No, you're quite right, it isn't. It needs to have brackets on the end. It's an object. Silly me. I think technically it's a struct. I type so many programming languages. I was doing some Python on my personal stream because I work on an open source Python project a few weeks ago. And I was like, what's this called? It's not an array in Python. Somebody was like, it's called a dictionary. Oh, are you just learning? I was like, not really. I just can't remember what anything's called. Like, kind of. Python's definitely not my first language. But cannot use untyped string as type float 32. Are you sure? Okay, that's fine. That's in my local script. I just need to cast this to string. Which I think I can just do string. Oh no, it's a float. So I need some kind. Oh come on, we need some kind of strconv. Probably. Let's just have a quick Google for that. Golang float to string. Oh, format float says Stack Overflow. That rings a bell. And the accepted answer says do this. Because copying and pasting off Stack Overflow is absolutely how grown-up programmers work. Am I going to put that in line? No, I'm going to put it here. Right, so the input is response.value, and we're going to do balance. So that should end up as a string, and I'm going to put it here. And once it is a string, Go will know that I don't actually want to add them together, I just want to concatenate them because this language does not use different symbols for concatenate and addition. Also, I've introduced the strconv library there, so I need to run Go imports again. There we go, and it's added it for me. Now then, cannot use type float 32 as float 64. Really? It's a float, you work it out. Maybe this number should be 32. I'm clearly making it up at this point. Yeah, okay. Input non-float 64. I want... Let's be more specific. I really do need to convert a float 32. I think I ended up converting the data type last time. Format float. Convert string to float 32. No, I want to go the other way. Convert float. Here we go. Oh. No, this is like some kind of automated code grepper. Okay, just keep on eyeballing the chat to check if anyone's told me how to do code. Parse float. Float to string. Oh, you can use sprintf. Oh, that makes sense. Why aren't we doing that? Let's do sprintf. Or probably printf. I'm doing print line. Is it like a print line f? I should know this. Golang fmt docs. Ha. Let's have a quick printf sprintf. Whatever. Rummage. Try and find it. Okay. Integer float. Just a float. I mean, ordinary float. Let's see. Darling Dicking, are you good with data structures? No, not really. Working mostly with the just JSON data types, and you can see it's really simple values here. So we're not working a lot with graphs or traversal. So it's probably a diversion too far. %f, let's just use %f. I need some methods though. This is just over, here we go. I want to use print, I guess I can just do print line? Oh no, I need to use format string. Oh, it's fine. Let's just, I think we can improvise. Now we've got this far. So we're going to do printf like this. And then we're going to just put a % in our placeholders. And then I'm going to pass my extra value, which is response.value. I don't think it might be necessarily this straightforward, but let's give it a try. Imported and not used. Ugh, Lorna, come on. How much Go do you write? How many times a day do you do this? 100. Really? Oh, yay! Okay, that was a bit chattier than it needed to be, but right at the bottom, you can see that's what I want. That's the functionality that I want. That's really nice. Cool. So, right, so let's take this script and use it as the basis for the documentation that we want to add for how to use this, because it's not a feature unless it's got documentation and tests. I need to get rid of some of this debug first. Whoops. Let's just stop running an open ngrok while streaming. So let's take out the debug and check that everything's, I probably need to remove the, yeah. And then check that everything still works. No, it doesn't. Right, yeah, because I'm not using these values now. That's okay. So we'll revisit this because I'm going to write one happy path test. And that's probably it for the stream. Because I don't want to run for hours today. But I think I also need to write some failure path tests as well. And of course, remember everything we do, we're working in the open. Everything is just on GitHub. So if you want to follow this, you'll see the pull request open either later or tomorrow with the account API change in. We've already talked about the spec. There's a pull request open for that. So you can see the work that we're doing and kind of what happens after the stream. Maybe we'll revisit it in the future. So yeah, it's quite fun times. All right, so that looks like I want it to look. Now, I'm going to write the test next. No, I'm going to write the documentation next because the test is really similar. So let's just grab this. Here is how we want our code to look. I need to put that in the other copy paste buffer, otherwise it's going to be no use at all. Great. And we're going to start a file called accounttest.go. It's a new file. And I'm going to, let's just get the SMS test alongside us. So I'm just going to put that in the right hand, my left, your right. No, wait a minute. It's really nice that you see the screen the same way round I do. When you present on a big stage, it's like, on your right hand side, that's my left. This is much simpler. So on the right, this is the SMS tests. So I'm going to need more or less exactly this. No, this is sms.go. Try again, SMS test. Right, I'm going to need more or less exactly this with the same kind of setup. And the same sort of tests. So we're going to start really similarly. I'm just going to copy the first two tests because they're really similar to what I want to test. And that'll give me something without engaging my brain too much, which test SMS. So we're going to do test SMS is going to become test SMS. Oh no, come on. Test SMS is going to become test account everywhere because I want to call my stuff the same. And it's a new account client, and I should be able to create an auth. And really all I'm looking for here is that I can instantiate the auth and instantiate the client. If this fails, all my tests will fail, so it's really useful to have this one fail and know that's where the problem is. Test account get balance. Now I'm using this Jarcol HTTP mock. You can see, you know, I'm very lightly wrapping just HTTP endpoints. And one thing to be really careful of when you write tests is that you're not testing the generated code. I'm not that excited. I'm not drinking this tea now. It's cold where I am. I forgot about it. I'll drink this instead. Oh, cup of tea fail. I'm using this HTTP mock because I only really want to test if you return this response, it should do that, and that response, it should do this. So I can add errors here. What we do need to do is we need to make sure that we say what type of response it should return to, and you can sort of chain these together and put a more complex set of tests together. Ours are very kind of one step. So this is going to be, you saw it earlier when I was debugging, it's account get balance, I think. And then we are going to return a 200 and then a response that does not look like this, but we will go and steal a likely response from the documentation. Here it is. I want get account balance, and it's going to look like that. Just like that. Brilliant. So that handles the which URL are you going to call, and when the mock sees that call, how should it respond? Alex is here. Hi Alex, you can watch the replay. Hey listen, I did this last time I was on stream, so there's like a whole replay from 4 weeks ago if you didn't see that. And today I'm generating from OpenAPI to add some account API functionality to the Go SDK. So you've missed a treat. That's my story. I'm going to create a new account client. We're going to call get balance. You've seen this 7 times. It doesn't need any arguments because it's going to take just the auth, the API key and secret. That's all I need to pass in. Alex is saying story of his life always missing out. No, I feel like you're here at a perfectly good time. Like you can't do everything, it's not possible. we're going to get balance, and then instead of message ID, we'll just have balance, I think. And that is in result dot value. And if balance isn't, now it's a float. So I think I can just put the value in like this. We'll soon find out. Test account get balance failed. I don't know why we've suddenly gone for title case. That's actually quite alarming. Let's not do. I don't want to see that in my error message results. Okay, so let's try. Well, first of all, let's see if any of our test suite still works. It shouldn't all work, I don't think. What does -b do? Try again, Lorna. -v. I want everything. I wasn't expecting everything to work. Did it not run the account tests? It did run the account tests. Okay, perfect. I guess get balance. It's not that complicated. Brilliant. So we've got a test. We definitely need some documentation, and I am going to do that and then just wrap up for today. Sorry, Alex, I know you just got here. Now, hold on. I don't have anywhere to put the account stuff because it's new. I'm just going to carry on using SMS. And this is just to make sure that I don't miss anything, you know, from the front matter, or if there's formatting, it'll be there and we can just replace everything. So, yeah, look, there's front matter. I couldn't remember this. This is going to be account API and then a path to where this goes. I'm not going to need the table of contents until I put a little bit more in it. And if you're looking for the markdown table of contents renderer, I have that on my blog, on my personal blog, so you need to go look on lornajane.net for that. Cool. Account API gives access to check your balance, rotate your account secrets, and configure the default behavior of your account. Check out the documentation, which I think is just account overview, but it'd be polite to check, wouldn't it? Oh, it'll be linked off here. It is just account overview. Okay, cool. Be good to get the and the reference, which really is just account. And then it's got like a title and some words. Get account balance. Check the current balance on your account. This is pretty much it. So this is what I put in my copy paste buffer before. Obviously I've put something else in since, but that's why I have a thing that helps me with this. Now, we use placeholders, whoops. We use placeholders, not environment variables, in all our documentation examples. But apart from that, and I don't want my debug, I think we're pretty much there with this example. Brilliant. Okay, don't need anything else. Fantastic. So let's go for it then. We should have, oh, we've got minor modifications to fix stuff. We've got some new files and we've got some examples. Let's get these modifications added first, because I think that's quite important. And then we'll add the documentation, the functionality, and its testing all in one. I want to keep the changes to the internal tool separate. These are changes to existing files, so I can just do -p, and I will clearly notate in the commit message that this is just a workaround for some of the problems that we had. Git, oh, gut, come on. Split keyboard is tripping me up. Git commit, work around the problems caused by one all and the code generator. Okay, and I do want to go and revisit that, so we'll see this in the pull request and be like, could we improve on that? So that's good because I'll see it and I'll remember. We have got a new file in this directory. That's the documentation that I've just added. Git add account.md. There we go. And then if I go back to where I was, git status. This is the top level. And you can see we've got the docs added. But if you look in the untracked files, I have a few things lying around actually, but the account.go and the account test.go, that's the work that we've done today. So let's add those. Git add. And it just has the get balance. So I've got a lot more to do on account, but we've generated the code to give us the basis, to give us the wrappers. And now I'm writing what I like to think of as jam. It's like glue code, but nicer. Jam code that kind of smooths and sweetens the relationship between the generated code, to be a bit jaggy, and the user. So that's where I'm going with that. Right, git status before we run git commit, add get balance for account with docs and a test. And we'll push the branch up. I'm going to push this up with a tracking branch to origin, and I'm just going to call it account API. And we'll open the pull request as well, and I'll share the link with you as the last thing. So if you want to keep up or follow along, you can. So I'm using the GitHub command line tool here, which is great if you are not forked. It seems a bit confused if I'm forking, but it's okay otherwise. Add account API support. Oh, which ticket number was it? We should look that up. Continuing browser. Here's the browser, but I did originally start from, I have a ticket open for this. Let's have a look. It is 36. Okay, start support for account API to the Go SDK. Not sure there's more to say than that really, but it is a work in progress. So you'll see, oh, I'll add that 36 that I just looked up. Fixes 36. So I'm going to open this. It is a work in progress. So one thing we can do is convert it to draft. And that just means that I can keep on working on it, but the branch is public, people can follow along. It's, yeah, it's there to be used. I am going to share this link with you as well in the chat. So if you want to follow along or see, if you're watching this later on demand, you want to see what happened, that's where we're up to. Account API also has the ability to check and set configuration, and it has the ability to rotate your secrets. So when I leak my API secret on stream, it's the account secret management that I use to rotate that. Awesome. If you have questions, type now. Otherwise, I will see you in 2 weeks. And that one will be the last stream of the year because I'm not streaming on Christmas Eve or whatever day that would be. I'm going to do a roundup of the best questions. There is still time to get in and ask the best questions. So in 2 weeks, I'll be back. And the next episode of Developer Drop-In will be the best questions we've had this year. So that's my plan. And I look forward to seeing you there. No typing, as far as I can tell. So thanks for keeping me company. This was lovely. I actually got stuff done, which is radical, and had a nice time. So thanks for that. Stay in touch. I'll see you soon.